Can you hear me clearly? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. First thing, we all should, every morning, all of you are activists, सब activists है, so सुबह में पहली चीज़ हम लोग ने प्रे करना चाहिए कि गॉड गिव अस करेज. तो ये सबसे बड़ी चीज़ है कि जिस तरह से हिम्मत चाहिए आज जो कुछ भी करने के लिए. So that has to be really, and the way up when we are fighting, the only way to fight is through writing. Nothing else. There is no other tool. Other tools have become very difficult. Agitation on the street, it's not easy. It's not easy because there is fear in the environment. डर है, खौफ है सब जगह. कोई कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा है. People are helpless. So the only little thing that we can take courage is to take a pen, paper and write something. और हमारे जो भी feelings है, emotions है उसमें आने चाहिए. लेकिन not as poetry, but as technically when we write something. So whatever I have learned, I had to learn. Everybody is a learner. There is nothing like I don't believe in somebody calling himself an expert, because it's ongoing. It's an ongoing and learning process. So it never ends. So that is why. So whatever I have learned, I'll try to share with you. And I've written this practical tips, because legal writing is something a very vast subject, so you cannot in 1.5 hours even talk about it, that what actually is legal writing, legal drafting, but whatever practical tips in day-to-day life. One thing is there that I would like to say is language or grammar. ये कोई overnight कोई crash course में कभी भी नहीं सुधर सकता. Nobody can claim that you do an 8 days course and you will be thorough with grammar and writing and all that. स्कूल में हम लोग ने बहुत कोशिश की रेन एंड मार्टिन से परफेक्ट होने के लिए ग्रामर से, लेकिन कभी हुआ नहीं. इट्स एन ऑनगोइंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस. तो हम लोग सीखते रहते हैं. तो ये जो भी मैंने सीखा है आई विल ट्राई टू शेयर विथ यू. सो सम प्रैक्टिकल टिप्स व्हेन हम जो लिखते हैं तो उसमें हमको लेना चाहिए. सो फर्स्ट थिंग इज, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. There are stages of writing. तो पहले तो प्लानिंग होना चाहिए. या सो सी दिस इज द वेरी मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेज, प्लानिंग. आप क्या करना चाह रहे हो, क्या लिखना चाह रहे हो, फिर उसको ऑर्गेनाइज करना पड़ेगा कि कैसे ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं. देन द एक्चुअल राइटिंग प्रोसेस, देन उसको रिवाइज करना, और फिर एक फाइनल ड्राफ्ट होगा, और फिर आप प्रूफ रीड करोगे. तो ये स्टेप से ही राइटिंग होगा. फाइनली एक लिख दिया और दूसरे दिन पोस्ट किया, ऐसा नहीं होता. अगर आपको अच्छा लेटर लिखना तो यू हैव टू स्पेंड सम टाइम ऑन फ्रॉम प्लानिंग टू द फाइनल प्रूफ रीडिंग. प्रूफ रीडिंग अगर किसी और से कराते हो तो बहुत अच्छा है. देयर इज समबडी एल्स हु कैन डू, बिकॉज कभी कभी जो लेटर हम लोग देख रहे हैं खास करके स्क्रीन पे, वी टेंड टू रीड इवन द मिस्टेक्स. वी डोंट रियलाइज दैट. Only if somebody else reads it, अरे ये हो गया. Suppose we don't even read that there has to be an apostrophe or a semicolon. We miss that. Because that's a human mind. हम लोग जो सोच रहे हैं वो हम लोग we read it correctly. Secondly, always final proof reading जो है वो print कराने के बाद ही होनी चाहिए, not on the screen. So that is every time I find that I see that on the screen अरे perfect है. जब वो print निकाल के देखा उसको तो अरे ये तो इधर problem है. So better do take a draft, then revise, proofread, print, and then. Secondly, outlining, structure and organization. Organize your thoughts before writing. This is a very step in everything that you will do in life. Of course, in writing this becomes more important. So you have to outline, organize, IRAC method. Now this is what this issue, rule, application, conclusion. We'll elaborate on this as we go on. That what is this issue, rule, application, conclusion? What exactly is to be done? Clarity and precision, plain language. Make your writing accessible with simple language. Now in legal writing, unfortunately, every time you can't be simple. उसमें हम सिंपल होने की कोशिश करेंगे तो भी वो पॉसिबल नहीं है. तो बिकॉज योर फ्रेमिंग ऑफ सेंटेंसेस एंड ऑल, उसमें जब लीगैलिटी आती है, फ्रॉम द लीगल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू इट शुड बी सिंपल. फ्रॉम द लैंग्वेज पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, इफ यू आर राइटिंग लीगली, then it may not finally be very simple. Because why? Because usually in legal writing हमको एक सेंटेंस में एक से ज़्यादा चीज़ बोलनी होती है. अगर आप उसको तोड़ना चाहेंगे, द सेम थिंग विल हैव टू बी रिपीटेड अगेन एंड अगेन. तो उसको अवॉइड करने के लिए लीगल राइटिंग में क्या करते हैं कि एक सेंटेंस में हम उसको कॉम्पैक्ट करने की कोशिश करते हैं. तो जब वो कॉम्पैक्ट करेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली वो जो लैंग्वेज इतना सिंपल नहीं लगेगा. तो एज इफ दैट सो एक सेंटेंस में डाल के हम उसको थोड़ा सा ये करते हैं. इसलिए एनी टाइम यू रीड समथिंग इन लॉ इट सीम्स, बिकॉज अगर वैसा नहीं करेंगे तो इट विल एक्सपांड एंड देयर विल बी repetitions every time, because one thing that you should, we cannot write this, that, it, कि ऐसा हुआ, क्या हुआ. So in the first sentence you're writing something and then you continue that this has happened, what has happened. So again you'll have to repeat. Therefore वो दो तीन चीज़ जो है पैरेलली वो एक सेंटेंस में आना चाहिए. इसलिए सिंपल तो होना चाहिए, लेकिन वो इतना अगर उसको सिंपल करने की कोशिश करेंगे तो इट विल गेट एक्सपांडेड एंड रिपीटेडली यू विल हैव टू से योर लेटर डेटेड डेट, अगेन यू हैव से माय लेटर डेटेड दिस. इफ यू आर ट्राइंग टू मेक इट expanded and simple, you have to repeat everything that you are reading, this, that, it, what you are talking about the first paragraph. In the second paragraph, you should not assume that what I have said, what you have said, this is what has happened, what has happened. So this has to be avoided. So it becomes very, very specific. But not specific, then it becomes very. So be specific, use facts, figures instead of vague generalities. Vague नहीं होने चाहिए. कोई भी लेटर में vagueness, what is vagueness like? You are doing this repeatedly. What? You are doing this repeatedly. This is not the proper way to do things. These are vague things. You are generalizing something. So whenever you are writing the officer, he may be a wrongdoer in first 10 issues which you are pursuing with him, but even when writing the 11th letter, it is a totally fresh cause of action, which has nothing to do, unless it is a continuation. If it is not continuation, then it is a fresh cause of action. So वो letter जैसे आप पहली बार उस authority को पहली बार लिख रहे हैं, you have to explain in everything. Nothing should be assumed कि मैंने पहले आपको in my previous letter I had written this. Which previous letter? It has to be referenced in the subject. After the subject, you give the reference. So it becomes very, very specific. Avoid redundancy. Eliminate unnecessary words for brevity. So of course unnecessary words नहीं आनी चाहिए. Now finally this is, I'll tell you, these are instructions. A better learning experience would be having a workshop on this rather than a seminar. When we actually, all of us, we start writing a letter and then try to improve. So maybe some other day we'll have a workshop on this when we'll have more clarity. Citation. Always cite your sources accurately, right? Don't cite news item. Okay, you can't cite news item. Yes, when can you cite a news item? That will be a starting point, and you want some authority to take action. Suppose I've read such and such a news item, such as a newspaper, and you better conduct an inquiry and provide a report. Otherwise, in other things where your news cannot be the law, you cite laws, but news cannot be law. So you cannot authenticate something with a news report. और these days the news क्या रहा है हमको सबको पता है. What kind of news are there? There's hardly anything specific. It's all vague. Footnotes and endnotes, we all know. Who are writing, they all know that Microsoft Word जिस software में you can put footnotes down. So if you are quoting something, you can just give a number और नीचे उसका, if it is a judgment or anything else, any textbook reference, whatever, that can be done so that it doesn't come in the body of the letter. So your body of the letter is very compact. The citation is beneath that on the same page. So your footnote का जो option है वो use करेंगे and your document also looks beautiful when there are footnotes, and footnotes are eye-catching. That person will read those footnotes. What is the citation? So that is there. Grammar and style. Now this is something ये हर इंडिविजुअल का यूनिक होता है. राइटिंग स्टाइल सबका यूनिक होता है. वी ऑल हैव रिटन लव लेटर्स ड्यूरिंग योर कॉलेज टाइम एंड ऑल दैट. सो सबका एक यूनिक स्टाइल होता है लिखने का. कोई कैसा लिखता है, कोई कैसा लिखता है. इट्स योर पर्सनैलिटी. बट देन हियर इन लीगल राइटिंग you should be the persona which you are trying to, for as an activist you are writing as an activist. You have to somewhere keep your emotions a bit aside. तो इसमें emotions तो है definitely. Whatever humans do is guided by emotion. There is nothing that a person can do. इसमें emotions नहीं है. नहीं. Everything has emotions. But only thing is, even now when we, of course, when we write letters to the authorities, खास करके activists, एक emotion dominate करता है वो गुस्सा, anger. Now we don't have to depend on books and somebody teaching us, just self-learning is possible. So वो synonyms use करो and antonyms. The opposite word also you'll get, similar word also you will get, that can be practically used. So don't depend on your own vocabulary. We all have limited vocabulary. So we'll have to take advantage of this from the internet, from the web. Use parallel structures for lists and entries. That again we'll elaborate what we mean by that parallel structure. Revision and review multiple drafts. Yes, when we are एक draft में नहीं होता है. When we revise, एक draft, दो draft, तीन draft होता है. Peer review, somebody else reviewing your letter, who may be similarly placed or may be better than you, or you feel that okay, he is more knowledgeable, you can or not possible, somebody else just read, make your any family member read that letter. So कुछ grammatically, punctuation wise, if there कुछ problem होगा, so that can be pointed out. Proofreading again can be done with somebody else, not always possible to get professionally done. So somebody else has to do, who you feel. Now since we have a group of activists, we can actually share each other's letters, and those who are, we feel that he is better at writing, you can just share that letter and that can be corrected. If you don't want to reveal the authority's name, you can just mask that and give it for proofreading to somebody else. So that can be a good activity. So anybody else can suggest, अरे ये law quote कर सकते हो, ये cite कर सकते हो. So that sharing is very important. That is one thing I think we lack. जो coordination होना चाहिए, interaction होना चाहिए, informal, formal, वो नहीं हो रहा है. तो इस वजह से the only platform is the social WhatsApp messaging. तो उसमें भी जो better not to say anything about it much. So उसमें ज़्यादा useful कुछ होता नहीं है. So there should be some platform where we can share this, you know, where things can be done और ये editing वगैरह हो सकती है. Now just for an analogy, now this is just broad. आप कोई भी book खोलोगे तो ये सब जो अभी मैंने बताया वो रहता ही है. चलो this is concise होना. अब ये करना कैसे? Question is how to get started with all this, how to organize. Now, science journal and I'm using an analogy. ये हम लोग ने स्कूल में एक साइंस जर्नल लिखा होगा जहाँ हम लोग एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करते हैं. तो उसमें क्या होता है, we first have an aim, an objective. We write aim and objective. As I remember, since I was a science teacher for almost 15 years, so I know, so you also know, aim and objective कि क्या एक्सपेरिमेंट है. फिर उसके बाद होता है प्रोसीजर. एक प्रोसीजर होता है, लिखा हुआ रहता है प्रोसीजर. वी हैव टू फॉलो दैट प्रोसीजर. देन वी फॉलो दैट प्रोसीजर एंड वी गेट सम रिजल्ट्स. एंड आफ्टर गेटिंग द रिजल्ट्स वी कंक्लूड द एक्सपेरिमेंट, पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव. तो ये जो राइटिंग प्रोसेस है ना, बस इसी तरह है. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली कि विदाउट एम बाकी सब नहीं हो सकता. आपको किसी ने जस्ट हाइपोथेटिकली आपके पास दिया, देखो ये प्रोसीजर है, ये रिजल्ट है, इसको कंक्लूड करो. अरे भाई एम क्या है? विदाउट द एम यू कैन नॉट कंक्लूड. द कंक्लूजन इज द फॉलो अप ऑफ द एम. सपोज देयर इज ओनली अ प्रोसीजर एंड रिजल्ट, देन व्हाट इज पॉसिबल इज एनालिसिस. You can analyze and have different conclusions, but it will not be the conclusion to one single aim of that particular experiment. So सबसे important when we are writing, what is your aim? You should be very very specific. मेरे को मैं क्या चाहता हूँ? What do I want? मैं खाली गुस्से में आके अभी ना इसको दो चार अभी legal language में गाली दे देता हूँ बस. That cannot be the aim. Aim is what do you want? Even when you're writing a simple RTI application, you should be very very specific. Not that मेरे को इसको RTI डालना ही है. Why? What do you want from that RTI? So the subject that you write in that RTI is the most important. That is the reference. The subject is the reference. कि what you have to give some reference related to that, and it should be very specific so that public information officer तो वो तो एक पाँव पे तैयार है to just give you some vague answer. तो उसको किधर भी हैंडल मिल गया. If he gets an handle कि there is no specificity, then you will see that the RTI is vague. or the information is voluminous, because why? Your subject is not specific. So you have to be very specific about that, your subject. If it is a continuation or something you are asking of some communication we have done before, cite that communication. If possible, annex that communication. So if given a grievance or a complaint, say that my this is information is sought regarding the letter dated so and so with the caption which was received by you on such and such a date. The said letter is annexed with this RTI. Some people have seen that in the subject they write the same thing they have written in the previous letter, and then they go on that 150 150 वर्ष 150 शब्दांच्या पुढे तुम्ही गेलेले आहेत, मग आम्ही उत्तर देत नाही. So that is very common. So you should not give them any handle. Then we cannot fight with them. Oh, where is 50 words? Which is 150 words? It's useless, pointless. So very specific. So that is one example. But this is what we are. So aim, procedure, and how this is analogous is when in science, setting the intention of the discovery, we know what has to do. In legal, providing context and the document's objective. So your first para of whatever you write should set out your objective. Because many times if you read a letter, in the first para itself, the reader should know what this is all about. What this is all about. We all know that in the High Court you have to give a synopsis. And the judges usually read the synopsis. That is the most that they can do. They don't have time to read everything. The synopsis, they get the whole, crux of the matter. So your first para that you write is a synopsis of what follows. So your letter can be 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 10 pages. But the first para is what has to be. So the context and the objective. Now steps for conducting the experiment. That is the next thing that if we go by analogy, actions, omissions, obligations of involved parties, the facts. We are trying to put the facts of the matter कि भाई क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, some reference, previous reference जो है. Then data and findings from the experiment, and legally conclusions and statement of facts. You have given the facts. Now you are trying to yourself conclude the facts. कि उसका crux क्या है, facts का. What is your observation from the facts? Then conclusion, interpretation are running from results, analogous with grounds for legal communication. So ये जो conclusion है, finally in any legal writing, if you want to be effective, हमने aim लग दिया, पहले एक sentence एक para लिख दिया, then this is followed by facts, then analysis of the facts, and finally the legal grounds, if any. It's not possible that in every letter everybody is going to quote a legal ground. But if it is possible, if we are questioning an authority, then what is that you can rely upon? Otherwise it's a useless letter. When we say rely upon, there are many things. Does that authority have the jurisdiction to do that? Does he have the authority of law to do what you are asking for? So all these things, that will be the consideration. Very most important consideration is jurisdiction. So if writing to an authority, whether that authority has the jurisdiction to. So you can also ask that without prejudice, if you do not have the jurisdiction in the matter, kindly state. And also let me know, what did I say? See, whatever you have written, without prejudice to the above, in case you don't have jurisdiction in the matter, kindly let me know within 8 days, and also cite the correct authority with jurisdiction in the matter. That is what you can ask him. वो जवाब नहीं देगा, वो अलग चीज़ है. But then you have to ask. पूछना हमारा काम है. It's like we have to ask them. And then ये जो है legal grounds, very important. If you have the grounds, then finally, very importantly again, when I say aim, that aim also reflects in your prayers. हम क्या चाहते हैं? What do you want from that? So aim reflects in the prayers. कि last में हम लोग जो मांग रहे, because all this argument and जो भी हमने लिखा है, क्यों लिखा है? Because I want you to do this. And why you have to do this? Because these are the facts and these are the grounds. और इस वजह से ये आपको करना है और ये आपके jurisdiction में आता है. If you can cite his jurisdiction, then you can cite that this is your jurisdiction and therefore you have to deal with this. So prayers. So I think when you're sitting for organizing something, first thing, the aim, which is nothing but which is going to reflect the players, कि मैं चाहता क्या हूँ? What do I want from this authority? I just want to write a strong letter to him, or want him something to do which he can do. If this is clear, then automatically what you write will reflect. It will be more clear because you know you are writing and you want to converge to something. Your facts and grounds are the arguments that why you should be doing this. So there is convergence. So that convergence is in your prayers. If whatever you have written has nothing to do with what you have prayed for, then in writing to like public authorities, you need not use the term prayers. Prayers usually is used in the court of law. You can send request or better still required to do. You are required to do. Instead of request, you can say I urge you. You know, these are again I say synonyms. Look out for synonyms which are more formal. You are required to do this. I urge you. Request, you know, sometimes we don't feel like using that word request because we are angry. So I urge you, you are required to do, that is all. So that is some in the form of the lingual language of an ordinary letters. Because my whole thing that I am now presenting is with respect to the letters that we write to the authorities. Because the repetition writing, again that's a different field altogether. So these are the ordinary letters that we write to the authorities. Very important. Now this is, next slide. So whatever I spoke was written there. So instead of reading out, I just tried to explain. Now this is something, very important. See, at the planning stage, there is a general idea and from which facts diverge. Another is you have a set of facts which converge to an idea. So there are two ways where you plan. That you have an idea which is your aim, which will related to your prayers. And then you look out for facts to support that. You look out for facts to support that. That is one situation that we are in. That you want to do something, write something, but you are looking out for facts and you look out for grounds to go for that general idea with respect to which you are going to request, pray or urge that authority. Next planning level approach would be you have facts and you have to look out for converge to something general which you can demand from the authority. So these are two different approaches. हमारे पास 4 facts है और हम उसको now we have to converge to what I can ask from whatever I have got. Secondly, that there is an idea and you look out for facts and grounds. So these are two different approaches. I usually use this in learning strategies and other critical thinking workshops because this is the instructional strategy that we are used to right from our childhood. That there is a general idea and whatever follows consolidates or talks about the general idea. It is never the other way around. Anyway, that's a different topic. We'll talk about some other time. This is another problem with the web. We have so much of information. So information overload syndromes. You're going to get so lot of information. You have to siphon that information, and to siphon that, fortunately now we have artificial intelligence. But again, that's now evolving, but it's very exciting. Let me tell you, in a few years, it is going to change everything. It is going to change everything. So it's very exciting. Last 3-4 months I've been using it and I find it fantastic. It's something which is going to change the game. Everything is going to be turned upside down. So information overload syndrome is there. We won't be able to, think that what has to be taken or not to be taken. That again, using the search engine, again, when you use the search engine, then specificity of the words is the most important thing. What do you specifically, if you are Googling, then what are you Googling? So before Googling, if you want to do something legal, look out for the proper legal term that you want. And only if you Google, then you will get good returns. Otherwise, you will get vague returns. So the first result, then you can refine it. You can get some words from the first result, then refine and go again for another Google search. You will get more refined returns from that. Another thing, now this is something I think the most useful takeaway from this talk, whatever, is change करो, आगे जाओ. हाँ. See, when we think, your brain does not think in a linear fashion. It is always non-linear. What does that mean? कि हमारे जो thoughts आते हैं, वो एक के बाद एक नहीं आते. They are coming from all direction, radially. It comes radially. When you're listening to this, there are 10 other things going on in your mind. Okay, 10 other things. For some, you're not even here. There are 10 other things. You're with the 10 other things. So that is what that you do not, and we cannot. The human brain is not designed. It is a smart apparatus. It is taking from everywhere. We are sitting there, we are observing things. Sometimes the AC को देखते, कौन से company का है, वो chair है. So why this is our survival mechanism, that we are always aware. बारिश तो नहीं हो रही बाहर, मैं आज छाता नहीं लाया हूँ. So all these are, that means we are thinking in a non-linear fashion. You cannot. But unfortunately, when you write, you have to write linearly. So this is the most important or confusion that happens, that you have so many things you have to write when you are starting writing on the paper, that you don't know either shuru kahan se kare aur khatam kidhar kare. So that is why I am pointing out to this, that you do not think linearly, you think radially. Then how do I settle this dilemma? Okay, so here the next. This is the most, this was, when I first tried this out, this was life-changing for me. I don't know whether some of you may be aware. This was life-changing for me. Some 25 years ago, somebody introduced this idea to me, and this changed my life. This is called as a mind map or a mind web. Now, what is this mind map or a mind web? Next. I'll just give an example. Now, next, Kanu. Huh. See, I'm planning a birthday, and I'm listing some things. This is a practical exercise. Becomes very interesting since we have no time. See, what are the things required for a birthday? I've just listed: cake, candles, guest list, disposable plates, music system, drinks, disposable glasses, balloons, magic show, other items. So you're planning a birthday for your kid or maybe somebody else, and this is what you try to list out linearly. Now just imagine if you're giving this list, you're giving this list to somebody to ask him to procure कि ये सब चीज़ें लेकर आओ भाई, ये list जाओ और लेकर आओ. Now do you think कि ये list ले जाके कोई आपका shopping कर सकता है? You will say yes, है ना, सब तो उसको दे दिया. But what you will realize is, वो जब जाएगा आपका सर्वेंट या जो भी हो दूसरा, वो आपको 10 फ़ोन करेगा. अरे भाई कौन से दुकान से केक लाऊं? कैंडल्स छोटा के बड़ा, कितने साइज का? ये दुकान में ही नहीं है. गेस्ट लिस्ट, विच गेस्ट? डिस्पोजेबल प्लेट्स, विच साइज? म्यूजिक सिस्टम कहाँ से लाना है, कौन सा लाना है, कितना बड़ा लाना है? ड्रिंक्स, अभी कौन सा ड्रिंक्स भाई? अल्कोहलिक ड्रिंक्स, बेवरेजेस, कोल्ड ड्रिंक्स में कौन सा ड्रिंक्स, फैंटा, लिम्का, क्या लाना है? बलून्स, विच बलून्स, व्हाट बलून्स? मैजिक शो, किसको बुलाना भाई? whom to call, what kind of a magic show, and other items. That means what it lacks is detailing. It does not, and when you write linearly, when you are planning linearly, you cannot detail. It takes time to detail. So this will be a primary list, but this is. Now, when you change the scope of this planning, then the results are fantastic. Now this is what, next. नो दिस इज व्हाट इज, तो ये जो है, ये अब मैंने, जैसा मेरा दिमाग सोच रहा है मैं उस तरह से अभी प्लानिंग करने बैठा हूँ लीनियरली। मेरे को अभी कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है कि मैं एक के बाद एक लिखूँ। तो मैं बीच में मेरा एक सेंट्रल आइडिया लिख देता हूँ, हैरी पॉटर्स बर्थडे, द पर्सन इज हैरी पॉटर्स का बर्थडे करना है मेरे को, और ये बर्थडे में मेरे को, अभी मैंने केक लिख दिया, फिर मैं उस पर और सोच रहा हूँ भाई केक 5 किलो का केक होना चाहिए, कौन सा सप्लायर, कौन सा शॉप, या होममेड होना चाहिए। होममेड अगर केक है तो मेरे को इंग्रेडिएंट्स चाहिए, उसके इंग्रेडिएंट्स होंगे तो कौन से इंग्रेडिएंट्स चाहिए। सो नाउ यू विल सी दैट दिस, नाउ योर माइंड रियली ओपन्स अप। So moment when you are writing linearly, you are reading linearly, then your mind actually is not programmed for that. But unfortunately, we cannot write books non-linearly. So that's the problem. So any representation has to be linear, but your mind cannot think linearly. So that is where this exercise, which is called as a mind map, cognitive maps, different types of terminology given to popularized by as mind maps by one Mr. Tony Buzan. So there are so many. If you go to the internet, there are even all those Fortune 5 companies and all, they get trained for all this because they know that this is what can change the game for you. So in your, when you are writing, this is example दिया मैं बर्थडे का, तो when you are writing a letter, centrally आप लिखो, आपका aim होना चाहिए, आपका एम होना चाहिए, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग। एम ये है, एम है 1 2 3 4 है। मेरा प्रेयर्स क्या होगा, अच्छा मेरा प्रेयर्स है तो मेरे को फैक्ट्स इसका सपोर्टिंग क्या है, फैक्ट 1, फैक्ट 2, फैक्ट 3। अच्छा फैक्ट 3 के सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स क्या देना है मेरे को, एनेक्चर, अच्छा ये। सो यू विल सी दैट देयर विल बी अ चार्ट बिफोर यू। सो नाउ व्हेन यू गो टू राइट, यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग, जब आप लिखना चालू करोगे तो आपके पास एक फ्रेमवर्क ऑलरेडी तैयार होगा। आपको जो लीनियरली जो लिखना है उसका फ्रेमवर्क आपके पास में सामने होगा। अगर आप बहुत ज़्यादा है तो आप इसको और हमेशा जब आप ये करोगे एक्सरसाइज, डोंट डू इट ऑन अ रूल्ड पेपर। आप एक प्लेन पेपर लोगे विदाउट रूल्ड और उसको हॉरिजॉन्टल मोड में आप अपना पेन पेंसिल से कर सकते हो। देयर आर हंड्रेड्स ऑफ अदर टूल्स अवेलेबल। सो उसको आप पेन पेंसिल से करके वो A4 पे करो, अगर आपका कुछ बड़ा प्लान हो तो A3 पे करो, बड़े पेपर पे करो, और उसको आप उस पर जो देखोगे, आप अगर पहली बार प्लानिंग करोगे दूसरे दिन आपके दिमाग में और 10 चीज़ें आएगी, फिर उसको एलैबोरेट करो। जब आपको लगा कि अभी सब कुछ आ गया है पेपर पे, मेरा रिसर्च अथॉरिटीज़ कौन है, उसकी जुरिस्डिक्शन क्या है, मेरे पास फैक्ट्स क्या है, मैं कौन से फैक्ट्स को स्ट्रेस करने वाला हूँ, क्यों करने वाला हूँ, तो ये जो है ना आपका माइंड खुलते जाएगा और आपका ये जो मैप है ना, ये आपको एक बहुत ही अच्छा एक रोड मैप देगा आपके लेटर या राइटिंग के ऊपर। सो यू प्रैक्टिस दिस, you can, and also teach this to your kids. That will change their life. Especially this is called as a mnemonic tool. That is a tool to remember. So when you use this, first thing that you will realize is you remember what you have done unknowingly. You will not even realize that. So it is a very powerful study technique. So the entire book can be condensed into a single mind map. And when you're making this mind map yourself, you will find that you are remembering it. So it's a mnemonic technique, that is something which is big. You shorten it and your mind remembers it. So that is, again, it's a very powerful tool. So here for our drafting, this is very important. So why? Because many times when you sit to writing, first thing किधर लिखना है, ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है क्या, जो चीज़ बाद में आनी चाहिए वो पहले आ रही है। So how to organize all this? So when you do this, you will yourself be very sure कि इसमें हमको क्या करना है, पहले क्या. So please try this. Maybe next time we'll have some workshop of this, only of this thing. How to do it. Next. This is another example. You can do anything. You have do some legal research on one topic, and just you go on elaborating that legal research. you will have interconnections. You can connect that with those lines and all. Like एक phenomena, अच्छा, this is the law. Is there anything law which and going parallelly which can be used in the same aim that I am trying to write? So then again, this is how it can be done. Next. This is how you can organize. You can write short statements, okay, and just later on, you need not elaborate, because remember, whenever you think, you're thinking in a short manner. You know, whatever comes to your mind, it is maybe a single word. When you sit for writing, that time you frame, जो भी grammar और language मेरे को आती है, वो जो है वो रिफ्लेक्ट होगा आपके राइटिंग में. लेकिन जो आप जो सोच रहे, एक्चुअली जो सोच रहे, उसका जो लैंग्वेज होता है वो लिमिटेड होता है. तो वो आप अगर इस पेपर पे डालोगे और उसको फिर एलेबोरेट करो, आप शॉर्ट सेंटेंसेस लिखो और उसको बाद में आप उसको एलेबोरेट कर सकते हो. सो दिस इज़ वन टूल दैट एवरीबडी शुड यूज़, एंड आई एम श्योर this will be life changing for you. So this will change the way you think and way you organize. Next, ये सब करने के बाद another tool that जो आपको अभी आपके पास में मैप है ना, तो आप इस मैप में आपको देखेंगे, आप क्या कर सकते हो, आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि इसमें सिमिलर चीज़ क्या है, डिसिमिलर क्या है, and why this will be useful when you write. Similar things will be in a single paragraph. If something dissimilar, that will come in another paragraph. नहीं तो बहुत टाइम क्या होता है, रेपिटेशंस हो जाता है. आपने शुरू किया है करेगा 4 पैराग्राफ के बाद वही चीज़ वापस आ रही, तो वो अच्छा नहीं लगता, वो रेपिटेशन लगता है. Sometimes you have to repeat, stress on something definitely, but you can write the same thing again in some a little different way. Stressing is different, emphasizing is different with reference to something. लेकिन mere repetition does not look good, So here that is called as clustering. कि हम लोग इसको ग्रुप कर दिया, तो जब हमने वो मैप बनाया ना, तो हम लोग उसमें यूज़ कर सकते, कलर्स यूज़ कर सकते. ब्लू कलर है, एक सा फैक्ट है, इसको मैं ब्लू से ऐसा ऐसा कर रहा हूँ. इट्स योर गेम, इट्स योर कैनवस, यू आर द लियोनार्डो डा विंची ऑफ दैट चार्ट. सो यू डू एनीथिंग, इधर कलर का ब्लू 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 ब्लू, हाँ ये ब्लू है, ये ग्रीन 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 है, ये वायलेट है, ये ग्राउंड से, अभी मेरा फर्स्ट क्लास चार्ट हो गया. एंड यू विल फील हैप्पी, लाइक अ चाइल्ड, यू विल फील हैप्पी लुकिंग एट दैट चार्ट. क्या रे यार, चार्ट तो अच्छा दिख रहा है मेरा, कलरफुल दिख रहा है. एंड यू विल ऑल्सो ऑर्गेनाइज योर सेल्फ. नेक्स्ट, देन यस, टेक्नोलॉजी के बिना कुछ नहीं पॉसिबल है. इफ यू वांट टू डू समथिंग गुड वर्क, आजकल टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज़ करना ही पड़ेगा, और जो भी सीखना है टेक्नोलॉजी से ही सीखना है. कोई आपको ये सबसे अच्छी चीज़ है कि वेब के वजह से नॉलेज जो है वो डेमोक्रेटाइज्ड है. एनीवे, सॉफ्टवेयर टूल्स. नेक्स्ट, दिस इज़ another game changer now. This is some information that you will be useful. I have told you that you have a mind map already done. You have planned yourself. Now you go to the computer. One method is you just go on typing because you have organized. And whenever you are putting, I will tell you, whenever you start writing now, don't start writing sentences. Don't start writing sentences. Just put 2-3 words, one below the other. Go and putting 2-3 words, one below the other, which you have put on your mind map. Okay. So that is the first step. That is your building blocks. So at that stage, never ever try to make complete sentences. That is my experience. I am not saying that is what everybody should do. This is my personal experience, that you just write a few lines. It may not be grammatically, because grammar is something which comes very later. Grammar at that stage is irrelevant. Grammar is just to give sense so that somebody else who reads can understand that thing. That is what grammar is for, and that will depend on person to person. That is another thing. So you just put those points that you have one below the other without framing the full sentences, and then you again go to those points and now try to complete the sentences. Prior to that, what you can also do, if you have done that grouping initially, then that will be put accordingly, and then you can complete those sentences. 3 lines you have written, 3 words you have written, now just elaborate. Now whenever you are writing, elaborating, one thing that we should all be careful is about the tense. Past tense, present tense, simple grammar जो हम सबको हम लोग को पता है कि प्रेजेंट कंटिन्यूअस या प्रेजेंट टेंस है, तो वो जो है प्रेजेंट में लिखना ज़्यादा अच्छा है. I had applied, I have applied. आपका एप्लीकेशन अभी है उधर उनके पास, पेंडिंग है. माई एप्लीकेशन इज पेंडिंग. मैंने एप्लीकेशन किया था नहीं, मैंने एप्लीकेशन किया है. अगर वो एप्लीकेशन डिस्पोज हो गया है और आप उसका रेफरेंस फिर से कहीं दे रहे हैं तो आप बोल सकते हैं कि आई हैड अप्लाइड एंड दिस वाज द ऑर्डर. लेकिन आपका एप्लीकेशन पेंडिंग है, सो आप लोग आई हैव अप्लाइड. द एप्लीकेशन इज बिफोर यू, एप्लीकेशन आपके सामने पेंडिंग है. सो ये सब चीज़ें उसमें आती हैं. पेंडिंग इज समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी कॉमन. तो ऑलमोस्ट सभी का द एप्लीकेशन पेंडिंग ही होगा इधर. सो एप्लीकेशन इज पेंडिंग डिस्पोजल, कि आपने इसको डिस्पोज नहीं किया है तो ये आपके पास पेंड. तो जितना हो आप जो है प्रेजेंट में लिखो, एक्टिव वॉइस में लिखो कि दिस हैज़ हैपेंड, दिस इज हैपनिंग. हैड हैपेंड नहीं, ये अभी हो रहा है, ये ऐसा हो रहा है. अनलेस समथिंग विच इज़ डन, विच इज़ कंप्लीट, दैट प्रोसेस इज कंप्लीट, आप उसको हैड होगा. लेकिन अगर प्रोसेस कंप्लीट नहीं है, वो चालू है, ऑनगोइंग है, तो यस ये ऐसा हो रहा है, ये ऐसा है. That is the language that you use. This is for those who are a little tech savvy. इतना tech savvy होने की ज़रूरत भी नहीं, because this is a simple tool. एक ऐप है Scrivener. जो विंडोज़ यूज़ करते हैं यूजुअली तो ऐसे ही यहाँ वहाँ से यूज़ करते लेते, मैनेज कर लेते. So see, it's a very cheap application. If you want to buy, you can buy this app. What this app gives you, usually हम लोग the normal tool that you use is MS Word, Microsoft Word यूज़ करते हैं. और जिसके पास अगर एप्पल मैकिंटोश का मशीन होगा तो उसका एक पेजेस एक सॉफ्टवेयर है, दूसरे भी है. सो देर आर मैनी टूल्स टू राइट. ओके, जो बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्स्ट सेवी है, फॉर्मेटिंग अच्छे से करना हो तो अडोबे इन डिज़ाइन, ऑल दीज आर टूल्स दैट टू write. So now this is Scrivener. What is the advantage with this is, ये क्लियर नहीं दिख रहा है शायद. See, you have a draft tab at the top and below that is a research tab. The draft tab, you write something, then you can create another tab, you write something, you can third, fourth, fifth, as many, and then you can shuffle it. You can shuffle it any which way, ऊपर नीचे उसको कर सकते हो. उसके अंदर आप फोल्डर्स बना सकते हो, सब फोल्डर्स बना सकते हो. यानी आपका जो माइंड मैप है वो आप इसमें ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हो आफ्टर राइटिंग और ड्यूरिंग राइटिंग. दिस इज ऑल्सो यूज फॉर राइटिंग. दोज हु आर राइटर्स, प्रोफेशनल राइटर्स, दे यूज दिस software. There are similar software, many similar software. This is one of the most popular software. और जो research है, whatever PDFs, images, website links, you can bring in there. So अब आप जब लिखने को बैठे हो तो आपका पूरा research material आपके सामने है. Just on the click, आप उसमें एक फैसिलिटी ऐसी है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई कैंट शो यू दैट वुड द बेस्ट थिंग टू फॉर इट रिक्वायर्स वर्कशॉप, कि वो योर स्क्रीन इज डिवाइडेड इनटू टू एंड यू कैन हैव टू टैब्स. एक टैब में आप पीडीएफ खोल रहे हो, इधर आप लिख रहे हो. सो इट इज़ सो कन्वीनियंट. अगेन दिस इज़ अ गेम चेंजर. दोज हु आर कॉन्स्टेंटली राइटिंग, ऑफकोर्स सब एक्टिविस्ट सभी लिखते हैं, ऑलमोस्ट डेली यू राइट. वन गुड थिंग इज़, आप एक टॉपिक को फॉलो कर रहे हो तो उसके सारे लेटर्स आपके पास स्कैंड है तो वो इसमें आ जाएंगे. तो आपका पहला जो रेफरेंस है, यूजुअली हमको प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम किधर आता है, हम लिखने को बैठते हैं, अरे पहला लेटर किधर है, उसको ढूंढना पड़ता है मतलब. सो वन थिंग, वेरी दोज हु आर फ्रीक्वेंट राइटर्स एंड फॉलो अप शुड फॉल इनटू द हैबिट ऑफ स्कैनिंग द डॉक्यूमेंट्स, डिजिटाइजिंग इट. दैट विल मेक योर लाइफ ईजी. इमीडिएटली आपका एप्लीकेशन कुछ दिया, उसका जब एक्नॉलेजमेंट हुआ या उसका आपके पास रिसीट आया तो आपको इमीडिएटली आप स्कैनर आजकल सबके पास है ऐसा. अब ये तो वो प्रिंटर के साथ ही स्कैनर होता है. एंड इफ दोज वांट टू डू, देयर आर मेनी डॉक्यूमेंट्स, देन यू कैन यूज दैट जो स्कैनर्स वेर यू कैन जस्ट पास द पेज and they can, even of legal length and all those papers are scanned. That is also very convenient. So one thing, this you will have to scan, and all those scanned documents will have here, you can just put the dates of those documents and add chronologically. Chronological arrangement is the most important thing that will help you in your drafting. Sometimes if you're drafting is, you sit for drafting, प्रॉब्लम आता है कि साला वो डॉक्यूमेंट का रेफरेंस जो मेरे को देना है वो मेरे को ढूंढना पड़ेगा. But when it is scanned is already there with you, then it doesn't, it's very easy, it's very convenient. So this is something that you try, and in a week's time you will become an expert in this. In the Windows version you won't be able to take in web, but in the Mac version there is also you just put the link, and when you go to the website, this app, and you click that link, that will open in the one of the windows of this software. So this is something which will be very, very useful and very, very practical way. And then once you finish writing, you can export it in any format, PDF, Word, .txt, any format you can export this. And then you can do your formatting in Word, or formatting with this is also possible, not very convenient, but you can export it to Word, open your Word file, and then format the document. So this is one very useful tool. Another useful tool, next, is a software called Scalpel. There are many such softwares. This is what I use, therefore I am saying this, I am used to. This is the same company which is having this another app, Scalpel. What is this? Is nothing but this is a mind mapping software. Like what you do on paper, the same thing you can do with the software. There are hundreds of mind mapping softwares where you can do your mind map. You can reshuffle them, you can rearrange them, you can put pictures, documents. So this is one of those. Here in this software, when you open, is nothing but a plain window where you can put anything. You can just drag and drop your document, drag and drop your PDF, do your mind mapping, link those documents to whatever you have written, and you will see that everything is connected, and everything that you want is before you for that particular draft of letter. So you have everything before you. Again, a very, very useful tool. And very importantly, this Scalpel, if you do your mind map, this mind map can be taken directly into Scrivener, and it will arrange it linearly. The way you have expanded your diagram, when you take it to Scrivener, it will arrange it in a linear fashion, and each tab then you can start your writing from the map that you have made. So try this. This is again something very useful which will help you. Next. Another same, those who have Apple machines, now they are giving this inbuilt. So with this you will realize that how popular, common and useful this tool is, that it is giving along with that machine. So whoever buys an Apple machine, this free form will be the same as Scalpel. You just put anything, any document, you just drag and drop, and you just click on that, it will open then and there. You don't have to look out for somebody else, somewhere else. So if you already put in there, तुमने उधर अगर लिया है उसको उसमें drag and drop करके, तो वहाँ आप लिखो, उसको link करो, उसमें arrows and all that can be done. So you know that this is the planning stage. You can do it very well. And again and again I repeat that planning stage is the most important. Because anticipation and planning, these two things we are bad. We are facing so many problems because we did not anticipate. The capacity of anticipation, I feel, is the benchmark or the requirement which will, decide the future of a country. This is what I would say. How much you anticipate. In the 1950s and 60s. So this is again a free form, another software. Next. I'll just give this is just one example, show cause notice for delay and non-response. This is I think everybody is facing this. Delay and no response. We keep on writing letters and we get no response. Again, I'll deviate and I'll point out here this. The authority right now, all authorities, public authorities, now have the discretion or has been given the discretion to remain silent on your applications. This is totally undemocratic, unconstitutional. Just imagine हम लोग बेवकूफ़ की तरह लेटर्स लिख रहे हैं और ये बंदा रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर रहा है. What is this? What nonsense is this? He has to respond, he is not responding. Then we cite this and that. काय आपला महाराष्ट्राचा कायदा? So recipient's details, very importantly, if you know the name of the officer, write the name of the officer, designation, etc., etc. Very funnily, sometimes they will say that नाही मला माहीत नाही ते पहिला ऑफिसर होता. Then you have to explain to them, सर ही खुर्ची आहे ना हे परपेच्युअल असते. आता तुम्ही आला म्हणून तो ते पहिलं काय केलेलं आहे ते नाहीसं होत नाही. तुम्हाला हे समजायला पाहिजे. वी हॅव टू मेक देम अंडरस्टँड दॅट. मग ते असं आहे का? This is what is the state of affairs. Okay, so for they feel आता आम्ही आलो ना मला काय माहित काय झालं होतं पहिला. They give such answers. I have heard such answers. तो दुसरा होता तो काही कामच करत नव्हता. You got funny answers. It's like a comic show. A government office is like a comic show. It's like a farce. No movie is being made. That's very because you can't make. वो उसको सेंसर करेगा ही नहीं कोई. बोले ऐसा कैसा हमारे गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर को एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को आप लोग ऐसा बोल रहे हैं, नहीं हो चलेगा. सो रेसिपिएंट्स डिटेल्स, reference and date. Usually in their government letters they have their identifier code /this Maratara, whatever they have those kind of codes, some date. So you have to write that code and identify so that this your letter dated so and so with the code. Because only thing is, what if there are two letters on the same date? Therefore that code that the letter has, the reference number that letter has, that can be quoted. That is very important. Any notice, if it is you're issuing a notice or you've received a notice, date of that particular notice. And also, if you're writing your own letter, suppose you're depositing 4 RTIs of the same date, then it's better to give your reference number to the RTI. Because they will ask you, कुठल्या तारखेला दिला? म्हणजे त्या तारखेला दिला. Now you have given 4 letters on the same date. कुठला मग? Subject matter काय? So better you give reference number to your own RTI if it is being put on the same date. So you can say that reference number दिलेला आहे मी आणि ह्या reference number because 3 RTIs may be disposed, 1 may be pending. So when you go by date, there will be confusion. So it's better to mention your own reference number to that. Okay, concerned authorities details, background and overview of duties and responsibilities, specific tasks. If you know, you have to quote his, you know his responsibilities, you can quote that he has such and such a responsibility. If there's delay and non-response, quote about that, relevant dates, your letters, that there is no response. Any service rules or regulations, आगे जाते जाओ. मैं जैसा बोल रहा हूँ वैसे आगे आप जाते जाओ. आगे, हाँ. Service rules or regulations, वो आप next. You request for explanation and consequences. That we'll have to say that what you're going to do if you're not, of course we can do nothing, but we have to write that ये हम कर सकते हैं. Potential disciplinary actions. Next, time frame and method of response. You ask them in writing to dispose of an application. Next, you warn him about non-response consequences. कि आपने अगर रिस्पॉन्स नहीं दिया तो इसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस क्या है. यू टेल हिम द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस दैट यू विल बी आई लव टू सू यू फॉर harassment. I can go for criminal action. Okay, whatever legal language that we'll have to put in. So now there is the only route, again because of judicial delays, they can be sued for harassment, but then again it is not very cost effective, so people don't go for that route, but and that is goes to their advantage, and that is why they say that to me courtaat जा. Next, so this again, formatting of the document is, I think this is because this is the a world today where anything cosmetic is something which has to be eye catching. Okay, So everything should be eye-catching, whether it's a prime minister or a chief minister. So दिसायला पाहिजे असं आहे, चांगलं आहे काहीतरी. So in although this case, even in all as human beings, we are impressed by documents which are well formatted, good magazines, colorful magazines. Similarly, formatting, it's the first impression of your legal argument, the framework of your content. So the moment you have a good this thing, then it's better. Next. Now formatting do's and don'ts. Normal letter. Now this is normal letter. Next, karo. Next. This is just a normal letter written some hypothetically it's written to some housing society. So this is how it looks. Next. Next. Okay. Pretty normal looking letter, normally formatted. पहिल्या पानावर जा पर back. मागे. So this is how normally it should be formatted, and whether you write it on the right hand side or left hand depends, it's all choice. So formatting is your choice, but it should be good enough. For example, in the subject you have made some 2 lines, it to segregate it from the rest of the thing, and then you can start Mr. John Travolta, whatever I have written thing. And this is about, this is an issue basically which I am dealing with right now, where a housing society is, where the land has not been conveyed, they are directly approaching a developer, even for conveyancing, which is it's not a healthy thing to do. So you have to get this land conveyed first and then go for development. If you are putting your neck now, you are somebody giving your neck to somebody else, like you are approaching a developer, that again means that he is already pre-decided. You have already pre-decided. Without even the tendering process, you have actually, the committee has decided, so that's objection. Just a letter about that. So you'll hear one more thing, that is, see headings to your paragraphs. This can be useful because this is eye-catching. So you know what you are, because continuous letters without any headings looks boring and is not very eye-catching. So you'll see that here. Next page. So you'll see there are paragraphs and sub-headings. And subheadings. So that way you can highlight what you want to highlight. Next. Now अभी एडवेंचरस फॉन्ट, जस्ट ऑन द ह्यूमरस साइड की अगर हम लोग इसको अगर ऐसा नहीं करेंगे तो द रिजल्ट्स आर नॉट वेरी गुड. नेक्स्ट, सी यूज दिस फॉन्ट्स. Okay, should not be using such fonts. Just because you have an artistic bent of mind, you can't use any fonts which is not readable. Okay, next. Let us be as bold as me. Next, everything bold. Can't do that. Okay, this looks very bad. Okay, next, because everything looks the same. In fact, that person feels that I'm writing everything in bold, everything will be, standing out, but it's the other way around. Nothing stands out. Everything looks the same. Next. Numbering is tedious. Let's skip. Next. See, numbering. You have to number your paragraphs. Next, jao. This is continuity. There's no paragraph, because later on you're going for some argument on the same letter. You don't know which paragraph. I refer to this para number, page number. So therefore, in any kind of a letter which will come in the category of a legal writing, should have a numbering of the paragraphs and the subheadings, etc. Next. Why spacing Mumbai is so congested? Next. Spacing, some people want to save pages by printing का बहुत पैसा हो जाएगा, but it looks bad. Okay, so don't be so stingy. So there should be good spacing. Next. Why margins when there are no footpaths? Next. No margin. This becomes also very inconvenient, because when you go to the High Court or something, now this no margins, then that has to be adjusted and all. It becomes a headache. So margins are very important. Okay. So in fact, one thing you'll notice that more spaces and blanks that you have makes your document more beautiful. More it is crammed with letters, it will not look that good. Next. Next, okay. So just a concluding that artificial intelligence, how many have actually used artificial intelligence? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, so you have used. So I think many of you or all of you should be using this artificial intelligence. Now, how to be used and all that again is a different. We can have a workshop because it's very recent and it's evolving very fast. So, artificial intelligence. उसके पहले वाले में जाओ. Has to be used very carefully because there's one recent case, 2 US lawyers fined for submitting fake court citations. Now, what is happening is, what this AI does is, it is a language model, it just reshuffles and presents data. What it did was, it created judgments. It designed judgments by using different judgments. It created a judgment, and that lawyers inadvertently produced it before the court. They did not verify it. So therefore, suppose you are using artificial intelligence, asking for citations, then it is very dangerous. I have tried it. It is giving some very ridiculous returns. So at least for legal research, it cannot be used at this stage. So be aware of that. Okay, that's fine. Now, last guy. Any questions? See, artificial intelligence, I have tried ChatGPT 3.5 and 4. Then I have tried Notion, I have tried Bard. So whatever all these models are available. So that is
And this ChatGPT, Webling is that which people can use for 3 months. It's the same one, right?
ChatGPT is free for all. It's a open source thing. So anybody can access ChatGPT. Just type ChatGPT, will come up, and then you can just try it out. Any other question?
Sir, any book or something which you refer to?
Legal drafting, hundreds of books. I can't. I have no personal preference for any book, but there are so many books available. Even online, you can go and look out for books. Okay. अगर normally आप Times New Roman या जॉर्जिया ये यूज़ करेंगे तो 12 का साइज़ है. अब हाई कोर्ट तो बोल रहा है कि 13, 14
है
बराबर 14. बट अगेन इन 14 इफ़ यू आर नॉट यूजिंग दोज फॉन्ट्स ना, तो कुछ बड़ा होगा या कुछ छोटा हो जाएगा. जॉर्जिया हाँ, जॉर्जिया 14, जॉर्जिया एंड 14 विथ डबल स्पेसिंग.
Yeah, correct.
Now the problem is, frankly, it is too big, and the spacing also is too big. So for a A4 page, it is not the right thing. But again, it's honorable High Court. We can't say anything.
Sir, only coming to what you said about emails. One of the magistrates objected to me sending an email to the police station, saying ने आपका FIR के लिए you can't send a email. तो मैंने बोला सर Section 4 of the IT Act पढ़िए, and that will cover my subject. And he agreed to that. तो ये email जो है ना, it is a legal document. And nobody can say आम्हाला वेळ नाही आहे वाचायला. वेळ नसेल तर you are liable for whatever it is.
Yes. In fact, they have made a law. It's a law.
Yeah.
Section 8 of the rule number 8. दफ्तर दिरांगाई मध्ये दफ्तर delay act rules na, section 8, where rule 8 of that rules of the delay and discharge act 12,000.
This is for information of everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, don't take that argument very lightly when somebody says अरे email. So don't.
You can,
अगर कोई बोलता है email हम लोग नहीं पढ़ते हैं तो बोलो सर law है वो पढ़ना पड़ेगा आपको. हम आके पढ़ा नहीं सकते आपको.
You can quote this section, and I think as PGF we can take up this issue before the state government.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.